The WNBA season in 2026 might not take place, and the players aren't the cause. Herb Simon currently has a confidential agreement on his desk that he won't sign. He is 91 years old. He has a $5 billion fortune. The Indiana Fever are owned by him. And he just said, no, to Caitlin Clark and all of the league's players. This is the topic that hardly nobody is discussing. Herb Simon is the owner of the Indiana Fever, as everyone knows. However, the majority of people are unaware that Simon has multiple seats at the table. He has 3. As the owner of the Fever, he has voting rights as a WNBA team owner. As an NBA owner, he has a second vote because he owns the Indiana Pacers. Additionally, he contributed to the league's capital increase, giving him a third investment stake. One man is in charge of 3 distinct financial interests. Consider it this way. 3 sides of the same bargaining table are occupied by Herb Simon. He is the landlord, the owner, and the investor. Additionally, he receives payment 3 times each time he votes against player pay. That isn't conjecture. That is how the league is set up. Herb Simon is currently among the most influential individuals determining whether Caitlin Clark will play basketball this season or stay at home, since the entire 2026 campaign is on the line. Additionally, one of Simon's own players appeared on a podcast a few days ago and did anything that was unexpected. Music, she listed New York, Seattle, and Phoenix as the league's top owners. She gave them individual compliments. Additionally, she remained silent about her own owner and team. Not one word. Sophie Cunningham was the player in question. Herb Simon should be terrified by what she said on her Show Me Something podcast on February 3rd. According to her, half of the WNBA's owners are player first and wanting to invest. And she referred to the other half as the league side. Music, she was then questioned on whose owners genuinely invested the most in their teams. In New York, she went by Joe Ty. In Phoenix, she gave Matt Ishbia a name. The Seattle ownership group was named by her. Herb Simon was not named by her. The Indiana Fever was not named by her. Now consider the implications of that. Music, a current Fever athlete, sitting in the locker room while sporting a Fever jersey, recently told the world on national television that her own owner is not one of the good ones. Here's what makes this extra riskier. Next year, Sophie Cunningham will be a free agent. She recently criticized the man who writes her checks in a public podcast. Unless they are aware that the ship is sinking, players avoid doing that. That doesn't occur until there is a serious problem behind the scenes. And the figures support her assertion. This is Caitlin Clark's salary for the 2026 campaign. $85,873. That's all. The most marketable player in women's basketball will receive $85,000. The woman who walked into every venue and sold out. $85,000 was made by the woman who sold millions of tickets and products. The league recently received a check worth $2.2 billion, and this is the bit that should make your anger boil. Additionally, less than 15% of it is given to the players. Allow me to clarify what is actually taking place. On October 31st of last year, the league and the players' previous contract came to an end. The 2 parties have been negotiating a new one ever since. And revenue sharing, the most significant problem. How much of the league's earnings ought to be distributed to the players who really participate in the game? A system was suggested by the players. A third of the league's total revenue is what they desire. That translates to 30 cents of every dollar earned by the WNBA before any deductions are made for costs. The payroll cap would increase to almost $10.5 million per team under their proposal. Music, $2.5 million would be the highest salary. Roughly $1 million would be the average player wage. In response, the league returned with a whole new system. Players were given more than half of the net revenue. Before you understand what net means, that seems generous. Net refers to the amount left over after expenses and any deductions made by the league. Furthermore, based on front office sports calculations, the league's suggested players' share of the league's overall earnings still falls short of or surpasses 15%. 15%. That's the situation. Give us 30%, the player said. Music. How about less than 15? Asked the owners, who who included Herb Simon with his 3 distinct stakes. He declined to match the offer. That is the current deal that is being discussed. Additionally, the 2026 season is getting closer to disintegrating. Every day it remains unclaimed. Front Office Sports was informed by a number of sources that the season will be postponed if an agreement is not reached in the first 2 weeks of February. The deadline is now in effect. You must comprehend Herb Simon's true nature in order to comprehend why he is prepared to take a chance for the duration of the season. He was born in Brooklyn, New York, in 1934. His father came from Central Europe and worked as a tailor. After relocating to Indianapolis, Simon and his brother Melvin established Simon Property Group, one of the biggest shopping mall corporations globally, in 1960. The Indiana Pacers were on the verge of dissolving by 1983. The squad was about to be let back into the league. Urban Mel intervened and paid $11 million to acquire the franchise. Basketball in Indiana was actually saved by them. The Simons added the fever to their holdings when the WNBA grew in 1999. Both teams were solely owned by Herb following Melvin's death in 2009. He has been the NBA's longest-serving tenant owner for more than 4 decades. In 2024, he was admitted into the Basketball Hall of Fame. And this is what you should know about his mentality. Herb Simon works in the real estate industry. Instead of considering player satisfaction or fair salaries, he considers property prices and long-term equity. Music, he considers the franchise's value. Additionally, he is currently protecting his investment across all 3 of his WNBA investments by keeping player costs low. There's a catch, though. Simon helped prevent something that might have altered the league as a whole in addition to rejecting the player's contract. Additionally, there is a $325 million offer that inexplicably vanished. A man by the name of Steve Pagluka made a $325 million deal to purchase the Connecticut Sun and relocate them to Boston last summer. It would have been the most costly franchise sale in the history of women's sports. The Mohegan tribe, who own the Sun, accepted the agreement. Commissioner Kathy Angelbert was shown it, but nothing came of it. The Board of Governors never got a chance to vote on the agreement. According to reports, Angelbert ignored it and let the window for exclusivity to close. The league also vetoed the offer made by Mark Lazy, another buyer, to keep the team in Connecticut. The WNBA was charged by the Connecticut Attorney General of improperly preventing a sale. Now, why is this significant to Herb Simon? Since Simon is a member of that governor's board. Additionally, it establishes a precedent when franchise transactions occur at record prices. Every other owner is under pressure to increase spending and investment in order to support their team's growing worth by reinvesting funds in the product. That precedent is not what Simon wants. Not when Sports Illustrated only valued the fever at $90 million. Not when he's attempting to reduce expenses throughout the league. This is the current state of affairs. After 6 weeks of inaction, the league eventually issued a new proposal to the players on February 7th. The $5 million salary cap was raised to $5.65 million. They gave minimum salaried athletes some housing concessions, studio apartments. However, revenue sharing is the one important factor. Several publications claim that the percentage barely changed. It is still below 15%. The executive committee of the players is divided. The question of whether to declare a strike is currently the subject of a heated discussion. In December, they authorized one with a 93% vote. They have the strike in our back pocket, according to a public statement made by Union President Nawamek. Music. In the meantime, the league published the complete 2026 schedule as if nothing had changed. May 8th is the opening night. Training sessions begin on April 19th. Portland and Toronto's expansion drafts have yet to take place. There is no free agency yet. 80% of the players in the league are not signed. And Herb Simon, who has 3 interests in the result, he simply retired on February 4th from Simon Property Group. He is 91 years old. More of the daily tasks are being handled by his son Steve. Does this man genuinely care about what happens next enough to make a deal? That is the question that everyone in Indianapolis should be asking. Herb Simon saved Indiana basketball in 1983. When no one else would, he took the initiative. He risked everything for the Pacers and he made it through. The question now, 43 years later, is if he would be prepared to do the same for the ladies who perform for his brand. The agreement is available. The players are awaiting their turn. Waiting is Caitlin Clark. Time is running out. Furthermore, Herb Simon has yet to sign.